Friday, September 24th, 2021. Today on the Daily Review, we discuss the last half and finale of the hot new Netflix show from Korea. It's Squid Game, the finale, with your host, me, Joe LaRocca, and a show that nearly has 700 subs, and it's okay. Everything's okay. All right, so I finished the series. This will have major spoilers if you have not watched the show. I will see you tomorrow because this is Spoiler Time USA. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so Jihan, our main character, continues on in the game. This show is about, well, you know already because we're in spoilers, but if you don't know and you're still just watching it, it's all these people with debt get brought into a game, a sick game of violence in which whenever somebody dies, more money gets added to the pot until there's only one left and they get the prize. There are tons of major twists, and someone wrote in the comments on my first video and I think I might delete it, not because I was upset with what it said, but I felt like it was too much of a spoiler. They were like, I didn't like the last 3 episodes, and I guessed all of the twists 6 out of 10. And I was like, darn. So, I was super excited about the first episode, whatever. And I actually agree that the last 3 episodes are weaker than the first 6. It kind of takes a turn that I understand what the person was talking about. And I mean, I think it's way higher than a 6 out of 10. It's like an 8 out of 10 or something. But I know what they're talking about. And actually, there were 2 of like the 3 major twists. I did at one point go, oh, I bet this person is that. But you do that a lot when you watch a show, You how you're watching a show and you're like, I bet Tony Soprano's gonna die, and then you're like, and then you're like, I guess not. Oh, okay, I think he's gonna live, and then like a week later he dies or something. He doesn't. Well, I mean, he does die in the final episode, in my opinion, but that's up for debate. Anyway, Sopranos have been on my mind because that new movie's coming out. Anyway, you'd be like, I totally said he was gonna die. It's like, dude, you said everything. You said everybody was gonna die at some point. So similar to that, I don't really know or exactly what's happening. Anyway, what I thought was so genius about the show is after the kind of ballsy first episode, is they get out, which is such an interesting writing decision. They basically, they find out what the game is. They're all trapped, and and then they make a decision to get out, and everybody's let out, and almost all of them come back, which is such an important detail because they know, basically, they've bought into this thing and they know what it's worth. And it proves, they're like, listen, you're way worse off. Like, you're definitely going to die out in the world, and there's no chance you're going to make 44 billion won out there. So you might as well at least give it a go and try and solve your problems. So a lot of people go back then with a plan, with like the pickpocket, it has a knife and stays awake, and Jihan brings like an undercover cop with him whose brother has gone missing, and the old guy is like, well, I had nothing better to do anyway. And that was when I was like, So all these alliances form, which makes sense, and there's like the good, the bad, and all this stuff, and then they have to cut out these shapes from a honeycomb, which was amazing, and I thought that was so original and just exciting and terrifying. And then we move on to like a tug-of-war game, and they're in groups of 10, and it's like, oh god, how are we gonna do this? And the old man is like, no, I know that because we're fucked, we got an old man. It's like, no, it's about how you do it, not like necessarily strength, which is great. And that's when we get into the idea that they're like, there's an organ market happening. Like, people are having their friggin' organs sold after they die, if they're in town. I'm not as pale as it looks. It's the light from the window. Sorry, I just noticed that I look like a fucking ghost. Anyway, this is the point. So here comes the major spoilers. This is the point of the show around episode 5 where I was like, oh, because the cop finds out that he had a kidney. The cop knows that the undercover cop who's like worked his way into the staff. he finds out that the kidney transplant he got, which he thought was from his brother, was actually a girl's, and it was from this kind of organ market. So it's like, oh shit, maybe my brother works, and then that's the moment where I was like, oh well, obviously the front man is his brother, and I was right. That was the one thing, but I think that's kind of, I think you're supposed to guess that one, because there's so many twists that I think it's okay. I think it's like, yeah, here's one that you think you're like, oh, I got the twist, and then they can like sideswipe you with another one. That's why I think it's okay. Because the big one I also did get even much earlier. I wrote it in big letters in my notes back in episode 3. I wrote 001 is the host, and I ended up being right. But I think I just kind of wrote that, being like, well, he's number 1, and like he always seems to kind of know what to do, and it was definitely after that Marbles episode where I was 100% sure, where he like had faked him out and kind of taught him a lesson. I was like, oh, that's kind of what this is all about. This whole thing is like a metaphor about how to live your life, I think, because it's using extremes to show that. And I'm not being like a smarty pants. I'm just trying to like, because I think like a lot of people who are cinephiles or who are writers and stuff who think about this stuff a lot, I think they'd be like, you're trying to figure it out the whole time. But kind of the bigger thing is like, how the game resolves itself. And somewhere around episode 7, I was like, oh, either nobody's going to win the money, or like you can't spend the money because it's like this event has been so traumatic. Like you've made relationships with people who've like saved your life, and you've made like wartime buddies, and now you've had to like kill them or, do something incredibly selfish and inhuman, or maybe the most human thing to do is just to survive. It's like once you get out, you're not gonna be able to like enjoy that money. And I was like, that's the big twist, really. And I didn't like really see that coming. I mean, I thought that idea of like, oh, maybe they're just like never gonna get it. Like the trick is that like there is no money or whatever. I know what. So episode 7 introduces the VIPs, which are Americans, and which I have no problem with. I get what they're saying. And they have these animal masks on, and they are the worst actors to ever be on a television show. No, I'm just kidding. It's really bad though. Their dialogue is really bad. The voice acting is really bad because it like doesn't line up with the mouths. It's like. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't a good show. Maybe all the acting has been bad, but I just, it's harder to tell when somebody's performing in another language, I think. It's a little bit harder to tell whether the performance is off a little bit, because you don't get the inflection as much, Let me know if you find that to be true. I think it's you forgive acting a little bit more if it's not your native language that you're watching it. But yeah, the Americans, just like all the line delivery was bad. They all say things that are like not nearly as, I don't know. Did other people feel that way? I was like, they dropped in from another show. Yeah, and it takes some, and then that's the episode where they have to cross a bridge, but some of the panels are just smashed through and you fall and just fucking drop to the ground. Again, like there's some things, if they do a US remake, I wonder they're going to have to change some things because there's imagery in here that I'm not sure if Americans would be down with. Well, I don't know, maybe that's not true. But like the mass shooting stuff, the jumping and falling stuff, like those are things that are in our consciousness as a society that I don't think would play as well. It depends on the tone in which you deal with it. So I don't know. I wonder if they'll dub this show or if they'll remake it in like with an American cast or something, or if they'll just let it be, which is what they should do. So I wonder, there obviously could be more seasons. There doesn't have to be. If there are more seasons, I would be not as interested. I don't think I like kind of where they left it, But yeah, the twist that the whole thing is being watched and is kind of a game, I didn't guess that, and I didn't guess, where it ends, like who wins and what they do about it. I just didn't think it was going to happen like that, and I thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was a pretty good ending. pretty smart and really makes it all, even if it's like a little bit unsatisfying, which you kind of guess it's going to be, or I don't know, I didn't find it unsatisfying, but I could see how some people do, because our character doesn't like get to enjoy their winnings or anything like that, but it really makes its point about, and the character fully has an arc. I mean, if you think about the first scene we see him in and the last scene we see him in, like, damn, that's some good character arc, which is really, you know, it was a show about both the plot and the characters, and it had some really intense scenes, man. Some of them a little bit cheap. I mean, the show's a little bit cheap because it's basically just, it's such a crazy scenario. It's like, let's just put people in a crazy, you know, it's like the Saw movies or something where you're like, that's a little cheap. But sorry about that. Oh, we're coming back. We dropped frames. Okay, we're back. We're not fully back, are we? Come on, buckaroo. Are we back? Yeah, we're sort of. We're dropping frames here. Let's see if it'll stabilize. Dude, I got nothing on the computer. I don't understand why it's being a jerk. Is that better? Hey, guys. All right, there we go. We're back. Okay, so sorry, there was probably a little break there. I was saying that the two young girls that have to play marbles together, man, it's so heartbreaking and so smart. But, you know, overall, I don't love it as much as I did when I watched the first 2 episodes, but it is definitely worth watching, and it's really exciting. It gets too stabby. What's the deal with that? Why do like the last 4 Korean films I've seen like end in stab fests, which always kind of annoys me. I don't know. I don't love violence. But I do really like Squid Game. All right, let's do a little bit of music, and I will talk to you guys a domani.
And moving towards the Earth's enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the Observatory at Trenton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to the music of Ramon Roskello playing for you in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel situated in downtown. Never lose its faith. The ever popular Stardust.
Okay, see you later. That was some music that I played. Alright, please subscribe and like if you liked the video.